Welcome back to Making Every Heartless in Clay, the series where I'm making every Heartless from Kingdom Hearts 1 in clay. And today we have the first boss, Guard Armor, the first one if you don't count Darkseid, as you fight him in Destiny Island. Now you fight this one in Traverse Town. And aside from the first one, Guard Armor has some larger body with more volume, so you start with aluminum foil that then you cover up with clay with this kind of cylinder, not cylinder that he has of a body. And after that, you'll have to cover him in three pieces. One that kind of goes on the waist, and the rest on the top and from the bottom. So you don't see the aluminum foil either from the top or from the bottom. After applying these coats, you have to smooth it down with a tool so it doesn't look bumpy. That's the texture that the aluminum foil gives it, because sanding is not an option. And by telling you that after putting it in the oven, there was a problem with the high temperature and the time it was in the oven. There was no way that that could have been sanded. So the cylinder also has some textures of its own. It goes with a little belt that goes at the bottom, and it also has a big belt that you can see in another color, in a kind of a gray, dark gray stuff that ends in pointy ends. It has pointy ends and gives him this medieval look that it's intended, because of course this it has kind of a knight style from from the game. Now by applying the big belt, you realize it doesn't go all the way. It leaves a little space. That's the center of the body, where it also goes the Heartless emblem, and it's the middle of the of everything, where it goes the face. Also, from the top, you realize we are now adding some other guards for the neck that he doesn't have, and they go in the same color that the belt from the bottom. Now, these two things, there are variations of color. Of course, there's a recolor on the final mix, and I'm going with the first look because I think it's more iconic. I've also spent a lot of time playing Chain of Memories, and in Chain of Memories, he doesn't get the recolor. It doesn't go in silver and bluish and yellow. So we're sticking to the original for this project. The fun part of this particular Heartless is that he goes from pieces, and you, of course, you fight the pieces in the game, and making the pieces one by one, not attached to each other, makes it more like you are actually kind of in the game. So after the body that went to the oven, I'll start with the head that has these kind of pointy cones. They are not ears. They are supposed to be the part that keeps the face, not the face, but the guard from the face from falling, and also the part where afterwards, when you come back to Traverse Town, you fight the version that has it open, and you can see his yellow eyes.
Or more, that the videos are.
The face guard comes from a flattened
I wanted to make
circle
them
of clay,
every 2 weeks.
and after that you
Twice.
poke some
So don't
holes
forget
that
to like and
the footage
subscribe.
got lost in
Enjoy
the editing room, and
Chops.
after that you start with the arms that are given a wire structure, and then you apply more aluminum foil to make the bottom part a little sphere that gets covered in clay, just as the body, so it doesn't look like it doesn't cost that much, and it doesn't weigh that much for posing purposes. Of course, you then have to smooth the sphere that will act as fist from guard armor. And after making that, there's this little cylinder, you can call it a cylinder, that would be his arm that goes from the shoulder to the fist, if there's no more articulation than that. And you apply the clay to the wire, and it gets this little extension, making it look like I don't know, a genie bottle, something like that. And after you've made this addition, you go to the shoulder. That's the little sphere that has a pointy end and gets red details. Call a hand or a fist without making some fingers. So I'll pre-bake some claws, one's larger than the others. One more coming ahead, you'll see that I had to give him a nail treatment because they were bigger than I expected. And after making these eight little claws, they go inside the aluminum foil with this wire that gets inside. And after that, everything goes to the oven, and you start working on the armor part of the arm that covers partially the fist, just the upper part that gets this purple thing. You can consider the other part, the dark ones, maybe his real body, his flesh, and the purple parts that goes inside, that goes over, being his real armor. King, this long wormy thing that will function as the garden part of the upper part of the sphere. It is applied on the edge of the armor, so it also gets another color to make it different from the rest of the part, just as the belt thing from the body and the shoulder, the neck armor, it goes in a different color to make it look like a knight. As I said, his name is guard armor. Armor doesn't stand for nothing. The arms also has these little details, stripes in yellow that go with a black line that wasn't necessary to make because I wasn't even gonna paint it. It is so small. After making these lines, I told you before that the claws needed some pedicure treatment because they were big and they looked way too scary for a PG-13 game. And after cutting and redoing the fingers, I had to start with the feet. It is the same process, aluminum foil that wraps around wire, armature wire, and to thicken these structures so that the clay can go and cover everything up and cover the lumpy foil that ends up when you push and press it on the structure. After this, the process kind of the same, part by part, and smoothing everything so it doesn't look like it is on some kind of soil. As I said, he's a knight, or he was supposed to be a knight that is wearing his armor, his purple pinkish armor, and going with the armor, going with the feet, the legs and the feet, he has these things that cover the feet, kind of like a shoe, like a boot. So these semicircles cover the sides, both sides of the feet, and that goes in another purple color, a darker purple, to make it look different and kind of like something that's on that covers the other part of the feet. No, the legs and the feet that act as arms when you fight the opposite armor have the same yellow stripes that the arms. Everything goes very harmonic. They they mimic each other. When you fight the opposite armor, when you return to Traverse Town, the feet look like the new arms that were the feet before, look like hammers. So as you can see, without it should be a knee. It doesn't have a leg, a proper leg. But if the joint of the arm could be his shoulder, maybe the joint, not a joint, but that big, little big sphere that it's at the top, maybe it could act as a knee. Of course, these spheres have the same line that accompanies the red, very thin stripes that go goes as detail. And after making everything, after molding and going in the oven, the painting process starts. As I said before, the body went a little too much in the oven, not by time, but the temperature got really hit the it hit very much the clay, so it turned brown when it should have stayed gray. That's why also you'd see that the parts of that cover the neck, the non-existent neck, are new. I had to kind of patch them to make it look like something decent. But you'll see later that with the paint job, it doesn't. You can really tell the feet and the arms by this attacking this gray clay that doesn't get much pigment on it. Had to go through two coats of paint. You're seeing now the body with the second coat, so it doesn't look very brownish. The the paint job at the end. This gray that also has a metallic uh, detail by blending, by mixing acrylic and metallic acrylic painting. So it looks like it's really metal, even though in the game it doesn't look completely like something that's made of iron or some other casting metal. But this this ending, this make it look like a knight in shining armor. That of course is not the case, because this is a boss that you have to fight, not an ally that fights for your side. As I said before, the Heartless emblem, he also has one in the back that I really forgot to paint. I started looking online images and I realized when it goes to opposite armor, that's why he shifts and has the Heartless emblem on both sides. Maybe I'll do a re-edition for this guard armor. I do not intend of making opposite. I do intend to keep making Heartless in clay, everyone from the first game. And that would be it for today's video. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and I'm sorry for the long wait. I hope that I can make the next one in less time. It's mostly the editing. So enjoy the glamour shots from guard armor.